Hey guys, this is Jason, and I am reviewing Civil War, directed by Alex Garland, and it stars Kirsten Dunst, Calie, Spaney, Jesse Plemons, and Nick Offerman. This film takes place in the near future where Civil War has started, where wars have already begun, people are getting shot, anarchy is happening everywhere, and it focuses on four military-embedded journalists who have to travel to Washington D.C. before the soldiers make their way to the White House. This film is kind of a departure for Alex Garland because he's known for making sci-fi films like Ex Machina, Annihilation, and Men, and also known for writing sci-fi action films like Dread. And this movie is about four journalists trying to get to Washington in the middle of a war, and I think that this is a really good movie. Now, if you're going into this film expecting this to be a full-on war film, don't, because this film is not really about a war. Yes, this film takes place during a war, but it's really about the perspective of four journalists trying to survive a war and seeing how they tried to take pictures of all these events happening and showing how horrible this life can be for these characters trying to survive through it. And this film is definitely one of those films where after you watch it, it will affect you emotionally, because after I finished watching the film myself, I just laid in my bed for a while thinking about it and trying to register with it because it is that rough. This is a very dark and bleak movie where it shows the characters trying to do their jobs and trying to take pictures of events happening while people are getting killed right in front of them, because that's their jobs. They have to take pictures and make it feel like they are real events happening, and they relate to some very graphic and dark imagery. So if you're not used to graphic imagery or brutal violence, then you might not like this film all that much, because you see these journalists try to take pictures of these events, and after they're done, they just go on with their lives, and when more chaos is happening, they try to go to that for more pictures, and they try to live on their lives after that. And yes, that sounds pretty messed up, but that's just how they do it. Since this takes place in a civil war, and it's been going on for a long time for them, they've kind of grown used to it, because they've been living in a civil war for a long time. It becomes life for them. And since I said a long time, this movie doesn't really explain how long the Civil War has been going on. You get little hints of that, but not like the whole detail of how long it's been going. And you also don't get the full idea of why the Civil War has happened. You also get like little hints to that here and there, but no full clear idea of why. So if you're expecting like a full reason for why the Civil War has started, don't, because they don't fully explain that. Anyways, back onto the characters. Despite the fact that they take pictures of these events and they're trying to do their jobs, that doesn't mean they enjoy it, because after they're done with their job afterwards, they feel horrible doing it. Like, for example, Lee Smith, played by Kirsten Dunst, plays a journalist that's very popular, and she's been doing this stuff for a long time, and she's not proud of it, because you can tell that she's not in some scenes that she is in the beginning of the film, because after she's done with her job, it affects her emotionally. And it's also a very dangerous job, like trying to be up close to an actual kill that's happening. Like, that stuff could get you killed yourself. And I thought Kirsten Dunst did a really good job in this film, and I've always liked her as an actress in films like Jumanji, or the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, or The Power of the Dog with Benedict Cumberbatch. And some could argue that her performance in this film is very bland and wooden because she doesn't react a whole lot, and I can see that being an issue. But in my opinion, I think it works for the film because her character has been dealing with this stuff for a long time, and she's gotten used to it, and she doesn't like it, but she's grown to try to pass through it and continue her life. And since Calie Spaney has become a new rising star, I thought that she was also really good in this film, and she plays a new journalist who is still learning her steps, and she's trying to be like Lee because she views Lee as her idol, but she's not as well experienced like Lee is, so she still has a lot to learn about this job, and that's why Lee later becomes a mentor to her. She teaches Jesse about how to register with the stuff and how she has to take a good picture of all of these events. It's a pretty messed up thing, and it's very dangerous, but she has to do it if she wants to be a journalist like her. When she starts seeing this horrible stuff for the first time, like some people getting killed, it horrifies her. But the more Jesse sees it, she learns to get used to it and take pictures of it, and she understands why Lee has to do it, and you understand that that becomes a part of her life, and it's kind of heartbreaking because you're seeing someone new to stuff like this, and you have to see someone like Jesse grow to be someone that is doing all of these terrible things just to become a journalist. Now, this movie isn't completely dreary or bleak. There are times where it can lighten the mood a little bit, like with Wagner Moore's character Joe. He's there to show a little bit of humor, but also take things seriously, but there are also times where he does try to lighten the mood whenever something serious is happening, and I thought Wagner Moura was good in the film. Stephen McKinley Henderson as another journalist that's along for the ride is also really good in the film, and good with some of his humor as well. So there are some parts in the film that do help lighten the mood, but it does get quickly serious later on after that stuff ends, relating to one very terrible scene relating to a few soldiers and this big pit. I'm not going to go into more details, but just look out for that scene where Jesse Plemons is also in that scene. This movie also does something interesting with the cinematography and the sound design. I'm not going to get into spoilers, but what they do for when a character reacts to a certain death and you see like flashes around that character, I think it was pretty effective because it shows how the characters feel affected and try to register with this murder that happened right in front of them, and how they tried to keep it together in their minds. And it shows more of how the characters register with the world. Like whenever a death happens right in front of them, they either just ignore it and move on, or just accept it and try to fight for their lives. And that shows that these characters have no hope when they're in the terrible situation. They've completely given up on hope and finding safety. They just have to live through it. Yes, there are some times where they find safe places, but are they gonna keep feeling safe regardless? Not always. This movie definitely shows how horrible war can be and how terrifying it is for the characters to try to live through that, and that's unfortunately what happens. Now, I do have one issue with the film, and it's a scene that relates to two cars, and it's supposed to be a humorous moment to help lighten up the mood, and the character does a moment in the middle of the scene, and I thought it felt a little out of character, I'll just say that. Civil War is a great movie with a great perspective on characters registering with the war around them, great acting, effective moments that will make you feel speechless, and it's one of those films that will get into your mind for a long time, making you feel paranoid thinking that something like this could actually happen in real life. It's a movie that I do recommend watching at least once if you're not into this kind of stuff, because it's a very rough and dark movie. If you want to see a movie that's just from the perspective of four journalists trying to register during the war, then I do recommend watching this film. However, this movie is not going to be one of those films that you put on just because you want to have a good time or have a blast, because this movie is not made for that. It's a very rough and bleak movie to watch, but it is a really good one. I'm gonna give Civil War an A. So guys, if you have seen Civil War, what did you think about it? Did you think it's a great movie, or do you think that this movie sucked? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing, because it helps my channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you know what other videos I'm posting. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.